Dante's been working on a project called Community Gearbox. It is an application that allows some distributed lending um, within closed communities. Um, there is opportunity for that as well to be used with more public groups, but it's really exciting. I just started an organization called Rockwood Common out here in Portland. We're working out of a mobile tool truck. So I'm very interested to learn about alternative models for doing lending and sharing, um, things that are a little outside of the ride share, car share, economic based model. So Dante, I'll pass it over to you.
All right. Well, first off, thank you everyone for joining this breakout. My name is Dante Garcia. I am the founder of Community Gearbox. We are really dedicated to trying to bring the circular economy and sharing and repair more into people's everyday lives. And with that, we are trying to build an app that actually empowers both individuals as well as organizations to gather, share, and co-own material goods with people that they know and trust. And on this journey, I've been a part of the Repair Economy Summit for the last couple of years, and it's been really exciting to watch it grow. And through this, I've also learned a lot about what is working, what some of the problems are with starting traditional lending libraries. And one of them, of course, is what do you do when you don't have a physical space, or perhaps when your project doesn't maybe require that. And so we'll dig into that a little bit today and get to see how Community Gearbox works. Also, I know that there's a lot of us on here, but I'd love to, if people wanted to throw into the chat, just briefly, if there was any specific reasons why you jumped on here, if there's maybe a use case or a reason or a context for you wanting to start a lending community without a physical space. I'll try and look at the chat and I can hopefully speak to some of the examples that you might have in mind if you want. And as I say that, let me make sure I actually can see the chat itself. Cool. And yeah, honestly, I'll be doing a bit of talking, but I really encourage folks, if you do, please feel free to throw things in the chat. Jason, if you see anything, feel free to lift it up. Okay, interesting. All right. Jenny, thank you for sharing one. All right, well, let's get into it. Yeah, I kind of briefly spoke to this. I've been a part of the Repair Economy Summit the last couple of years, and it's just been so exciting to watch it grow. Clearly, there's an interest in both lending, borrowing, and repair. And we need more flexible tools that allow more people to participate. Oop. How do I go back? Looking for more tools that allow people to participate. And for example, one of the big things I've noticed is that traditional lending libraries are great, but they don't always work for everybody. It's really exciting when you can get a physical space, but a physical space can be quite expensive. And if you're just getting started or maybe your project's a little bit different, volunteers, staff are hard to maintain. And I spoke to this earlier, but not every lending community needs a central location. And so at Community Gearbox, we've kind of been chewing on this. What would it look like to build a tool that does empower this, that does allow people to share and lend, not just from a one central pickup and drop off location, but in fact allows maybe a community as a whole to gather and map resources. Another thing that I've definitely heard from a lot of folks is that a lack of funds for physical space and human capital to run them is a big thing. And with that, sometimes a spreadsheet and text threads aren't enough. And in contrast, a tool like MyTurn or some of the other traditional inventory management tools might be too cumbersome. And so that's kind of the thing that we're chewing on is how can we help expand this ecosystem so that more people can be lending and sharing in their day-to-day lives. Cool. And I'm taking a moment. Okay, I see some folks chiming in the chat. I see Marlise mentioning that, limiting factors in our tool library is not having a physical space to continually expand inventory. Interesting. Okay. I'll keep going, but feel free, Jason, if you want to lift up some things.
Yeah, I think something that's come up in the chat, and definitely I would echo that from my own experience, is that, I mean, tool libraries have a limited amount of space. So if you have large items and you have members who are able to keep things at home and are still willing to share that out with the community, I think a distributed lending system as a supplement to other lending programs is really exciting.
Got it. Okay, cool. So yeah, exactly. With that, our dream and vision at Community Gearbox is to actually build an easy to use inventory management tool that has a social layer, which empowers networks of trust to gather, share, and care for material goods. And I should lift up, this is something that I'm still chewing on, but I want to share with you all, is that Community Gearbox initially came out of my own experience of growing up on Bainbridge Island, where Buy Nothing was started. And I kind of grew up in that milieu of Buy Nothing, Little Free Lending libraries. And what I learned and saw from these is that a lot of times the things that people are willing to share with others are usually things, because they're sharing with strangers, are things that they no longer want. And so the quality of goods kind of is diminished. And so I started Community Gearbox with the intent to explore, what about networks of trust? What about people who have a stake in each other's lives? If we could empower those folks to share resources, how would things change? How would the quality of goods or the quantity of goods change? Um, and with that, I'm also, kind of easing a little bit of what would it look like, only because I've heard from folks that also lending library communities are also interested in this. So candidly, this whole networks of trust, that's largely an emphasis within Community Gearbox. I'm here to learn a little bit also about how lending libraries navigate that dynamic of trust as well. Because I think there might be an opportunity for us to play well with each other. But nonetheless, for us at Community Gearbox, no physical space is needed to get started. We are trying to support both participatory and decentralized sharing. So if you are an organization and you have a collection of goods that you would like to share, certainly you can do that. But if you would like to actually empower a community of folks to share resources amongst each other, that's what we're also hoping to empower. So to give people that option and choice. And then also, I don't know about many folks on this call, but maybe some of you have attempted and started to catalog things. But we're also trying to help bring tech first, trying to bring some of this cutting edge tools into this. One of the things that's most labor intensive, of course, is just cataloging things. And so one of the things that we've built into Community Gearbox, which I'll get to demo in a little bit, is the ability to use some of the new artificial intelligence tools to do a lot of that cataloging work for you. May that be tagging things, creating a name for it, a description, and other things as well. So that's our vision. And I could talk a lot about it, but I thought it would actually be great to do just a little app demo. Again, this is still a bit of a baby, but I did want to share with you all that we recently published it to both the Google Play Store and also the Apple App Store. So if you are at all interested, you're more than welcome to jump on. Fair warning, it's still a little buggy, but you are welcome to try it out. And we will be making updates and releases as we go throughout this coming year. But nonetheless, to get started, you can just create an account as either an individual or organization. You can then seed your profile with items to share, and then you can invite your friends or create a group. And then there you go. You're off to the races. You can start lending and borrowing. So without ado, I'm going to go ahead and jump over to the app. Can people see this? I'm hoping so. I think it's still there. Okay, great. So this is, again, this is a mobile first app, so it's not fully stylized for desktop, but nonetheless, I wanted to give you all a little preview and show more than tell. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to click Get Started. I'm going to log in on, turns out my partner's account, just because, well, actually, here, I'll just for private, I'm going to use my account. I'm just going to take a moment. It's going to send me a, Oop. All right, I'm going to get a code here in a minute.
While Dante does that, I'll just share one of the things that we're testing out in Rockwood is having a distributed weather response system. So when we have members who have either the ability to share things or to provide, some weather response things, or they have actual tools, being able to have multiple points of contact for that. So Community Gearbox is a great way to kind of connect people through that app and get them in that sharing space, and find out what's out there in the community, so that when something, hopefully, knock on wood, nothing as severe as what Asheville just went through. Um, we'd like to be able to help people get the nearest possible resources. So
Brilliant. And I've got a slide here that lifts up a few case studies. One thing that you probably might notice is that a lot of the content and groups that are currently in here are in the outdoor space, and that's one of the original places that we started. But Disaster Prep was actually an organization up in Washington, was one of the first to sign a letter of intent with us for that very use case, both in mapping resources and building that memory muscle of mutual aid and supporting groups, and then the ability to mobilize those resources when a disaster happens, if it does. And so if it's all right, here we are, we're in the app. This is the social page for Community Gearbox. In it, you can see groups, both that can be discovered, as well as groups that you might already be a part of. You can see all of your friends. So if you are trying to share resources peer-to-peer individually, you can. And then also you can kind of see an exchange or a ledger of past exchanges that have happened in the last little bit. So this is kind of just the main homepage. I'll go ahead and actually click into one of these organizations. So this is a group called Escalamos. They're a rock climbing organization based here in the Bay Area, and they have chapters from up here down through California. And in it, this organization is kind of able to provide an overview, a link to their website, community guidelines. For them, liability is important for the use of their materials, the group type, as well as admins. And I'll click over here on items to give you an idea as well. So these are some of the items that this group is actually sharing with each other. For them, they actually received a grant through a company called Black Diamond to build a gear library. But then again, they just didn't have the capacity to have a brick and mortar location, as well as have volunteers or staffing hours for it. So this was an easy solution for them to get their community up and running and actually encourage folks to share resources with each other, not just from the organization out. In this group, you can then see your members, and then there's a place for a discussion. So if people are searching for something or things like that, it can happen here. So that's just a brief overview of groups. I'm going to click over on the items page. This is, of course, where all items exist. Every item that you have access to because of a group that you've added or that your friends have shared with you can be found here. And we're trying to make it as easy as possible so that you can sort by newly added items. You can sort by activity. So if you're trying to go backpacking, things like that. You can also sort by how the condition of the item. We try and make it really available. And again, we're wanting to lower the barrier of entry into lending and sharing, and make it as easy as possible. So making it very visual, making it mobile first. And I'll go ahead and actually click on an item that was recently added by my friend Maureen.
There's one question I just wanted to lift up real quick. Are there any geographic restrictions on who can join and set up networks?
Yeah, that's a really good question. As of right now, it's just available in the United States, but there are folks who are interested in using it elsewhere. So yeah, you are welcome to jump on, create a group, create an account for yourself, and begin borrowing and lending with friends anywhere in the US. Great. I'll keep going and then I'll answer some questions. So this is just a basic item listing page. You can see the activity tags, the details, a pickup location, which is only visible to people that you're friends with, borrowing responsibilities, and then you can find similar items. The last thing that I'll show before I turn back towards conversations, because I think that's much more exciting, is I just briefly want to show you here. This is the ledger of everything that you've borrowed and everything that you're lending. And so we try and make it as easy as possible to manage and track those things. So I'll briefly go over to the lending tab over here, and maybe it'll be nice to me. All right, I'm going to return because I'm getting a gray page there. but I'll click on this. Oh, let's see. Maybe it'll be nice. Oh, tears. All right. Well, I can't, doesn't look I'll be able to demo. Oh, here we go. Here's what an exchange page looks like. But here's a simple exchange page. When you request an item, you put in a pickup date, return date, and then we try and prompt people through the exchange process. And then you can kind of see a history of when something was approved, picked up, and so forth. I want to be mindful of time because we don't have a lot. So I'm going to actually pause here on the demo. I'm going to turn back to the slides and turn over towards use cases, but I wanted to actually make space to answer some questions as well because I'm realizing we're flying through time right now.
Yes. One of the questions was, what are the means of keeping users responsible, collecting replacement value, getting items returned, and how that works?
That is a really great question. For us, one of the first things that are the premise of Community Gearbox was to start with networks of trust, because that certainly is a large barrier in terms of the quality of the exchange experience. So that's our first layer, is really encouraging people to share things with others that you have some stake or relationship with. Two, we make it very clear on the item listing what a replacement cost is based off of the original estimated retail price. And then third, we really turn towards you as the manager of a community or person who's running a group to set that cultural and community practice within your organization and make that as part of your condition of joining a group or joining your group.
Yeah, and I would also add that the AI tools do help a little bit with setting some of those expectations in terms of what the quality of the tool is, and in some cases what the value is. But there's options to kind of add all that in.
Yeah.
One other question that was asked was about funding. Is this a free service, planned to be a free service for the lifetime of the service, or how are you funding things, and what is that going to change?
Yeah, that's a really great question. So, in my past life, I built a worker cooperative. I'm interested in seeing if a cooperative model, a platform cooperative model, could actually work here. But right now, we're free to use. In the future, we'd like to offer at least a plan, a subscription, or some kind of co-op membership that people can buy into to access more premium features. So still trying to figure out the business model. We're really focused right now first on building something that people love to use as our main priority, but likely some kind of membership plan. But we are, I guess, sorry, the last thing I should say is that we do have fiscal sponsorship. So we do have the opportunity to take on grants. And we actually have a grant to pilot and test Community Gearbox in the Seattle area outside of outdoor organizations. So if you're a group in Seattle and would like to maybe pilot this, let me know, because the Seattle Waste Management, we've got a grant with them that will be running next year. Any other questions in the chat that I might have missed?
Nothing else I've seen in the chat yet, but if anyone wants to come off mic and chime in, feel free.
Yeah. Otherwise, I can go through my last couple slides here as well.
I got a question.
Yeah, please, Steve.
We've got the NEROs in our community, the Neighborhood Emergency Response Organization.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm wondering if this platform would really be beneficial to those types of organizations. We're a very small island of only 11,000 people, but we have 280 NEROs on the island. Different organizations, individual neighborhoods that are prepared for disasters.
Yes, Steve, I would love to chat with you sometime. The first letter of intent we signed was with Bainbridge Prepares, which is another island, just for those not in Washington, right above Vashon. And I know every state does it a little bit differently, but it's exciting to hear that you also are doing the neighborhood structure, because I know some disaster prep is moving away from it, maybe is returning, but we'd love to chat with you about it. That was one of the first use cases that we have outlined right here, being able to create neighborhood groups through the organization as a whole. And then that gives you easy access to those groups when, if a disaster hits, you'll be able to call on, okay, who has this? Where were all the generators again? And you'll be able to use our interface to find those items.
So if you don't have internet or cell phone communication, does it still work?
That's a really good question. As of right now, no. But that's something that if we were to continue to work with folks, we would want to make sure it is available.
Yeah, that would be a good feature.
Yeah. No, thank you for the
Thanks.
question. Yeah.
Dante, there was just a question. You had said that the funding supports Seattle organizations. Does that mean that organizations outside of Seattle have a pay price point?
As of right now, no. As of right now, we're working really just to collaborate. I'll in one of my last slides, but very candidly on my end, we're a small team that is largely values and community driven. And so we're really looking for the opportunity to kind of collaborate and be in a co-design relationship with different communities. So again, this project is still a baby, and we'd love to find folks who are interested and see some value in this and actually partner with you to develop what this actually looks like.
Great.
Dante, congratulations and thanks for sharing. Just a quick question for those
Yeah,
of
Ben.
us interested in collaborating. What's the best
Yeah.
way to follow up with you? It sounds like maybe there's some more slides, but
Yeah, absolutely. So just briefly, I'll use that as a cue to get to my last slides here because I want to be mindful of time. So of course, I guess on my last one is if these are some of the main use cases that we're exploring right now, this is one early foray into what would, supporting either repair or tool lending might look like for folks who don't have a physical space. But there's certainly a question here that do you have a use case in mind? So there's a flexibility there that we're wanting to explore. And then I just want to share with everybody that here's what we're up to next year. One is we're really focused on improving the onboarding and setup. What we've really learned is that sharing and lending with people that you know and trust is something that we intrinsically love to do or are driven to as social creatures, but it's still a new habit. And it's very different from buying, renting, and using the marketplace in a traditional sense. We're really wanting to help empower groups getting up off the ground, helping communities get off the ground. And so that's our big first initiative that we'll be doing over the next couple of months. Speaking to the next piece is we really want to look for opportunities to collaborate with early adopters because again, there's a lot that we're wanting to explore and we don't want to do it on our own. We want to have that co-design relationship. Third is we're really focused. We started off as a peer-to-peer organization, our organization. And what we've realized is, yes, we still want to commit to that, but the real opportunity where we can deliver value, I think, is with organizations. So we're focused on refining features for organizations to go out and do their thing. And then lastly, one of the big things that I'm personally interested in as somebody who kind of grew up in a repair household is how can we bring repair into this platform? Is there a win-win or a way where there could actually be an opportunity for repair communities to be part of this platform? I could imagine a simple way where people are able to just acknowledge, hey, this blender is broken and take a picture of it, and maybe it will prompt them to attend the next repair cafe in their local community. But nonetheless, want to do that with folks. So again, if anybody's out there, please feel free to reach out to me. And then that brings me to this right here, which is supporting this project. If you want to be part of the co-design process and co-design community, I just spun up a little website, communitygearbox.com/co-design. And there's just a form there. And in it, you can check a box if you want to have a one-on-one session to chit chat with me and talk about things. So hopefully that answers your question, Ben. Thanks for queuing me up a little bit, and I want to be mindful of time because I know we're flying through things today.
I also did want to say that with 10 years of library experience and cataloging experience, the AI tools that Dante's put together make it really easy to get started. So I would this is an unofficial endorsement, but recommend everybody check it out. Grab the app and just see how the tools work. I think Dante had said, obviously, there's always bugs to work out at this point in the game, but it's really impressive what he's been able to accomplish so far.
Yeah, here with the last little seconds, I'll just do a brief demo. I've clicked on the continue button. You take a picture of an item. You take your picture. You click continue once it's loaded, and then it starts doing its thing. It's still not perfect, but even with that odd yellow shape thing, it was able to figure out that it was an exercise device. It created a description. It got some categories, and there you go. That's the item added. So hopefully trying to make it as easy as possible because I know that that's a heavy lift for a lot of us. It's just getting all the darn items made visible and available to our communities.
Dante, is there a way to export inventory?
That's a good question. We do have a large database. It is a database, so we, in theory, can. At the moment, no. So that again would be an interesting feature to put on the roadmap. Because at least one last thing I want to say around that is our intent, especially as a community project, is to help feed that ecosystem. It was one of the questions at the beginning of this set of slides: is how can we play with the ecosystem? Because we know so many folks have spreadsheets or use MyTurn, and we'd love to be able to support the expansion and fit within that space. Any other things? I'm kind of turning just to the chat. I can't believe 30 minutes flew by so fast. Yeah. Thank you so much, everybody, for jumping on. I know I talked a lot. Feel free to reach out to me. I'll put my email up on this last little slide, Dante@communitygearbox.com. I would love to chit chat with folks, geek out about various things.
Great. Well, thanks, everybody. I don't know. I'm really kind of very excited about this tool.
Yeah.
I don't sound like a cheerleader over here, but I think the potential for libraries of things to be kind of getting people introduced to this and setting up individual peer networks, I think it has potential to take some burden off of already strained programs and let folks do some of that lending at a smaller scale, but it also has potential to really expand areas that we maybe would like to move into, but don't have all the resources space resources are the biggest restriction. And more of a distributed lending, I think, has a lot of potential.
Yeah. And lastly, that, our hope is that it's a welcoming place where other tool libraries, maybe if you're just getting started, it's a place where you could actually feature yourself on our platform as we drive more people through the app to discover your lending library as well.
I guess while we're hanging out here, does anybody have any other alternative sharing models that they're using in your community, or anything you're piloting?
We're trying lockers with the local authority in North Wales, because one of the biggest challenges we have across the people in all of our networks is volunteers aren't really available in the evenings and weekends because they want to be with their families. Fair enough, and do their other bits and pieces. So it's like finding a way that we can get more stuff to more people easily. So that's what we're trying. But I am very interested in this because this is something we've had some interest in. The Welsh government is very interested in, but we've really struggled to find anything that really works or apps that have worked here. So I think I'll definitely be dropping you a line, Dante, because I would like to discuss a bit more about how it could work outside of the US.
Very cool. Yeah, I just connected with the folks over at Reaction Collective, which is like a outdoorsy circular economy crew in Europe. And
Cool.
So I definitely have it on. My ears are peaked and want to support out there.
Lovely.
Yeah. And just so I'm tracking, Jason, how much more time do we have? Because I thought we only had 30 minutes. So I was trying to.
I don't know. That's a great question. Let me double check.
Okay.
We've actually been out here in Rockwood about kind of hybridizing both of those ideas of having a locker that really is our tool that we're giving to the community, and then letting a distributed network kind of use that as an exchange space, just to make things a little more interesting.
In our neighborhood, Buy Nothing is very popular. It's sort of a medium to high density neighborhood. It's relatively economically well off. So you have a lot of like Ring doorbells and then just a plastic box outside. And a lot of people are, whatever they put out, they're not necessarily expecting to get back. It's not really the same as a lending library, but people do use it to lend out tools and things as well.
Very cool.
It looks like we've got about 5 more minutes, Dante.
Oh, nice. I think I heard somebody trying to jump in there. Wanted to make space if somebody else wanted to weigh in.
That was me. I was just trying to say that Cami said we had until about 122.
Oh, great. Okay. Thanks, Maya.
I did see a comment though. I was curious what your answer would be about any security considerations about addresses and being hacked.
Yeah, that's a really good question. Security is something that we're really mindful of. Um, when it comes to the pickup location, we encourage folks. One, we restrict the visibility and accessibility of that pickup location to just people that you have become friends with through the app. So even if you're in the same group with somebody and you're not friends with them, but they request to borrow your item, your pickup location isn't visible to them. When it comes to the other two pieces is one is that we also encourage people that if your personal house address is not something you want to include, you're always welcome to put a corner, a zip code, the local grocery store, another place that you feel more comfortable with. And then third, of course, is just the security piece. And that's just on us on the back end to be really diligent about not leaking that information. But the others are the upfront options that we share with folks. That is a really good question. And I think for us, one thing that I'm learning, and my last thing that I'll say is that I think sharing amongst networks of trust is a little bit different from a lot of the other platforms where sharing amongst strangers is the norm. And so we're kind of, again, as we trying to support lending libraries where it's a bit more of an open community, it's something that we're interested in learning from. So definitely open for feedback too.